From the book of Exodus, the story of Moses, part 1. The sons of Israel increase in Egypt. Now these are the names of the sons of Israel who came to Egypt with Jacob. They came each one with his household: Reuben, Simon, Levi, and Judah, Issachar, Zebulun, and Benjamin, Dan and Naphtali, Gad and Asher. All the children who came from Jacob were 70 in number, and Joseph was already in Egypt. And the time came that Joseph died, and all his brothers and all that generation also died. And the sons of Israel were fruitful and increased greatly and multiplied and became exceedingly mighty, so that the land was filled with them. Now a new king arose over Egypt, who did not know Joseph. He said to his people, "Behold, the people of the sons of Israel are too many and too mighty for us. Come, let us deal wisely with them, or else they will multiply, and in the event of war, they will also join themselves to those who hate us, and fight against us, and escape from this land." So the Egyptians appointed taskmasters over the sons of Israel to afflict them with hard labor. And they built for Pharaoh storage cities, Pithom and Ramses. But the more the Egyptians afflicted them, the more they multiplied, and the more they spread throughout the land, so that the Egyptians were in dread of the sons of Israel. The Egyptians made the sons of Israel to work ruthlessly as slaves. And they made their lives bitter with hard labor, working in mortar and bricks, and with all kinds of labor in the field, and all their labor, which was the Egyptians' own work, but the Egyptians rigorously imposed it onto the sons of Israel. Then the king of Egypt spoke to the Hebrew midwives, one of whom was named Shiphrah and the other was named Puah, and he said to them, "When you are helping the Hebrew women to give birth and see them upon the birth stool, if it is a son, then you shall put him to death, but if it is a daughter, then she shall live." But the midwives feared God and did not do as the king of Egypt had commanded them, but left the baby boys alive. So the king of Egypt called for the midwives and said to them, "Why have you done this thing, and the Hebrew boys, why do you leave them alive?" But the midwives said to Pharaoh, "Because the Hebrew women are not as the Egyptian women, for they are vigorous and give birth before the midwife can get to them." So God was good to the midwives, and the people multiplied and became very mighty. And because the Hebrew midwives feared God, he established households for them. Then after this, Pharaoh commanded throughout the land and to all his people, saying, "Every Hebrew son who is born you are to cast into the Nile, and every daughter you are to keep alive." The birth of Moses. Now a man from the house of Levi went out and married a daughter of Levi. The woman conceived and bore a son, and when she saw that the babe was beautiful, she hid him for 3 months. But when she could not hide the child any longer, she prepared for him a basket made of papyrus reeds and covered it over with tar and pitch. And then she put the child into the basket and set it among the reeds by the bank of the Nile. And his sister stood at a distance to see what would happen to him. And it happened that the daughter of Pharaoh came down to bathe at the Nile, and with her were her maidens walking alongside the Nile. And the daughter of Pharaoh saw the basket among the reeds and sent her maid, and the maid brought it to her. When she opened it, the daughter of Pharaoh saw the child, and behold, the boy was crying. And she had pity on the babe and said, "This is one of the Hebrew children." Then the baby's sister said to Pharaoh's daughter, "Shall I go and call a nurse for you from the Hebrew women, so that she may nurse the child for you?" And Pharaoh's daughter said to her, "Yes, go." So the girl went and called the child's mother. Then Pharaoh's daughter said to her, "Take this child away and nurse him for me, and I will give you your wages." So the woman took the child and nursed him. And the child grew, and the woman who nursed him brought him to Pharaoh's daughter, and the child became her son. And Pharaoh's daughter named him Moses and said, "Because I drew him out of the water." Now it happened, when Moses had grown up, that he went out to his brethren and looked on their hard labor, and he saw an Egyptian beating a Hebrew, one of his brethren. So he looked this way and the other way, and when he saw there was no one around, then Moses struck down the Egyptian and hid him in the sand. And Moses went out the next day, and behold, 2 Hebrews were fighting with each other. And he said to the offender, "Why are you striking your companion?" But he said to Moses, "Who made you a prince or a judge over us? Are you intending to kill me as you killed the Egyptian?" Then Moses was afraid and said to himself, "Surely what I've done has become known." Moses escapes to Midian. Then when Pharaoh heard of this thing, he tried to kill Moses. But Moses fled from the presence of Pharaoh and settled in the land of Midian. And Moses sat down by a well. Now the priest of Midian had 7 daughters, and they came to draw water and filled the water troughs to water their father's flock. Then the shepherds came and drove them away. But Moses saw it and stood up and helped them, and Moses watered their flock for them. When they came back to their father, he said to them, "Why have you come back so soon today?" So they said, "Today an Egyptian man delivered us from the hands of the shepherds, and what's more, he even drew the water for us and watered the flock." And he said to his daughters, "Then where is he? Why is it that you have left the man behind? Invite him to have something to eat with us." And Moses was content to dwell with the man, and he gave his daughter Zipporah to Moses to be his wife. And she gave birth to a son, and Moses named him Gershom, for he said, "I have been a sojourner in a foreign land." Please like, comment, and subscribe.
So, who saved Moses from Pharaoh? It was Pharaoh's own daughter. She took the baby Moses in as her own son.